So in this week's video, we'll look at something a little bit different. It's not boat building related, it's electrical related. And it comes about because I got a electricity bill and I want to use the boat's electricity, not the shore powers. So what we're going to look at is solar priority and how we make our Victron inverter go to solar priority. And we also look at the AC input control. The AC input control controls the parameters in which the AC from the land turns on and off. Hopefully you'll learn something like I did about how to control these systems on your boat when you're on the dock. Alright, so today I made a little discovery, which is cool. Now, my expertise is not in the electrical background. I can get myself through and make the boat work, and I can press lots of buttons on electrical things in the boat, but I'm by no means an electrician or an electronics expert. So I'm doing lots of discovery. Anyway, so Anna and I, we've just come back from Metz in Amsterdam. It was cool. We met a few guys there who are much cleverer in the electrical side and the electronic side than we are. And I'll have to give a little bit of a thank you to Mr. Jason Ellis, who, when I asked some questions about my Victron gear, he was able to answer and guide me in the right places, because I was asking about a particular feature where I was wondering for ages, could I prioritize, while we're being a dock queen, our solar and our battery system over shore power? And this was something that's like, I'd like to be able to not have to rely on the shore power. It's there as sort of a backup if we are using vacuum pump and vacuum cleaner and sander and all the rest of it. It would kick in and sort of supplement that. At the moment, it's the other way around, where as standard, the boat is set up where shore power comes in and our battery and solar will supplement the shore power. So I wanted to flip that completely on its head, and I spoke to Jason at Metz, and he said, yeah, there's a wind and solar priority. So now that we're back from Metz, I'm looking into that. And subsequently, we also happened to get our first electricity bill because the marina has changed their billing arrangements, which was also a little bit of a and we have to make some changes so that the electricity usage is different. I got heaps of solar and I've got these nice batteries that I can draw power from, so I want to take full advantage of it. And also from an environmental perspective, I'd actually rather be drawing directly from my panels and my batteries than from coal fire powered stations inland. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I want to make this work. So a little bit of reading and a YouTube video later, well, I knew what to look for. Thank you, Jason. And yeah, I made a discovery. Now, you guys will probably be able to tell me there's 10,000 different ways of doing this, but I want to show those that probably haven't seen this before, the method I'd used, and actually how easy it was, relatively speaking, to set up. So for those that are boats that are dock queens or dock queens for a while, like we are because of our situation, that you can prioritize your good boat system over the shore power, with the shore power being a nice little backup stand-in. So yeah, we've got a Victron MultiPlus 3000, what do you call it, watt inverter, and it runs all our 240 stuff on board the boat. Has been incredibly reliable, super good, love the blue boxes. So what we'll show you is I've had two methods of connecting to the Victron inverter. One's through reconfigure, and the other one lately is the Victron Connect. The Victron Connect is the new, more user-friendly version, but both have been very good. But of late, yeah, I've been using the Victron Connect just because I've had a lot of success with it, and it's just a bit nicer laid out than the config. So I updated all the firmware on the thing. I've been using the interface, the Mark III USB. So that's the V bus to USB. That's a definite you got to have so that you can connect your inverter to the computer. So I plug into the thing, fire up the whizzer, and then I get into the Victron V Connect. All right, I'm going to close that down. So we have the V Connect and the V config. I'm going to go through the process with the V configure, or the V Connect, sorry. Start that up. Now this is looking for the devices that are plugged in. It's having a bit of a think about it. Yeah, you can see the little thing. There it goes. V bus device has been found. There it is. There's my MultiPlus, 24 volt, 3000 watt jobby. So I go into it. Now while that's connecting, you can see here in the background we've got the marina. Now we got this very early on in the piece, and it has been really nice. It is has been a very standalone system, which was very disappointing that it was so standalone and separate to the Victron stuff. I believe it will now talk to Victron stuff, but I have to look into that. This one we've had on board for, how long we've had this one now?
Be about at least 3 years.
That was, no,
Maybe more, huh?
it'd be close to 5 years. Yeah, quite a while. So the only issue that we've had with this is the screen now, well, you'll see all the stripes down here. The screen is starting to, yeah, it's starting to die after 5 years. But it is a really, really, really nice display, and it's very nice to look at, very easy to look at, and has been really good, particularly through the shunt. We've been able to put the primary DC load shunt through here, and it has a sliding bar here that goes up and down, and it changes colors, whether it's charging or discharging. Also, when it's discharging, it goes from yellow to orange to red. So when we are turning things like the induction cooktop, and we happen to have something on as well, it's been a really good instant visual to see what's happening. We do have an alarm on it as well, so that when the current draws it up high, it tells us that. So it's actually been a really, really, really nice display for us. The only thing that's not so great about it is that it hasn't been integrated with the rest of our Victron gear. So I'm now into the Victron Connect, and I've actually got it set up here now. So you can see that my battery is currently inverting, or the inverter is inverting and drawing power from the battery. And there you'll see on the right hand side there's a little windmill and sun there, but that will come to that in a moment. And you can see on the page here that it goes from the battery, bright white line, through to my AC outlet. Here we have my AC in 1 on the left, and I've got it set up for a 10 amp max input. I set it up as the 10 amp, so you got your input current limits here. You can have them as a standard 16, 8, 6 and 14. You can actually potentially have a 32, but I set it up at 10, cancel out of there. Just because we're running quite a long shore power lead line and the power box isn't super stable here, so we just drop it down so that the inverter basically we can't draw enough power to trip the box outside, which is a pain. So we have a lot of control here. It's super cool. I love this box. It's been able to do so many cool things with it. All right, let's talk about the discoveries I've made. So the first one is relation to this little box down here. Charge to 100%, no, cancel out of that. Here we can see also the status of my inverter, the state. It's currently inverting, and it's got the AC input 1 is ignored. Now this is the big change that I made, and it's really cool. Switching to grid L1, so that's line 1, AC input on line 1. I have voltage there and the frequency which is there, but there is actually no current or power draw shown there, so that's cool. AC output on line 1, you can see that we still have a 7-watt draw there because we have a few small residual things currently hooked up to our 240 volt system. We've got a couple of little Google speakers and something else. There's a couple 240 volt things that are currently like 0.13 amps, not a lot of power. The battery at the moment, you can see there my battery voltage is at 26.77 volts here, and it's taking 1 amp to drive the inverter at the moment, and the current temperature in the inverter is 15 degrees Celsius, so getting close to winter time here. Bit cool. All right, so now what we're going to look at is this up in the settings in the cog gear wheel thing here. We need to get into this enable settings. So settings is disabled at the moment. So this is one of the little things with the Victron Connect. It basically says, unless you're a trained engineer or installer or a dealer, you can't come and play in here. Thankfully, I've got enough friends in the industry and they teach me enough to be dangerous. And I do know the password in there. It's quite easy to find online what that password is. So it allows me to get into this settings page. In the general state here, all the basics of what we were just talking about, grid, like there's heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of functions here, okay? Now the function that we're wanting to look at is primarily the AC input control, okay? This AC input control, this is conditional AC input connection. This will enable, when enabled, the inverter charger will default to island mode. I read about this ages ago and it didn't really make any sense to me because the wording was a little bit odd. Basically, it's saying that your boat or your RV is going to be an independent island and it's not going to connect to the AC input unless certain conditions are met, and we then set the parameters for that connect. Right, I jumped ahead of myself a little bit and talking about the AC input control, because that's what this is mostly about. But what I'm going to go back to is in this advanced tab. This is talking about why this little windmill and sunshine button here is. Okay, in the advanced thing we go, prioritize other energy sources. And I have switched this on. So I'm going to switch it off. Okay, when I switched it off just now, you would have seen that the little windmill and sunshine sun button disappeared. Okay, when I enable it, what it does is it prioritizes these energy sources to charge the batteries on the boat over shore power for charging the batteries on the boat. Now there's this sustain voltage here. So it's going to sustain a voltage of 26 volts. We run a 24 volt system on board the boat. So this sustain, the 26 volts is basically like my float voltage on the boat that I keep the batteries wanting to sit at whilst in the sort of storage. It's a nice safe voltage to keep the bank at. So when it gets down to 26 volts, it's going to sustain this voltage. There's a whole bunch of other sort of parameters that go on. It's a good read about, for the first 7 days, it's, I'm gonna have to remind myself here on what it did for the first 7 days, but basically it didn't charge for the first 7 days unless it had to. So here when we look at, they give you notes on what this is all about. When you check this option, the charger switches to float and starts charging with the dedicated voltage, which can be specified below this checkbox. So there you go. That's just highlighting what I said below. So basically, It doesn't charge unless it gets down to that voltage which we put in the checkbox of 26 volts. This option is designed for mobile systems such as boats, mobile homes, and that sort of thing, that besides an inverter charger also have solar installed, or wind, or a hydro generator, or whatever means of charging there are. When this is enabled, the inverter charger will charge the battery up only to the specified voltage, to leave the rest of the charging for the installed solar and other installed renewable energy sources such as a wind generator. Right, so basically the shore power is only going to kick in and charge it to 26 volts. Okay, so this is sort of my minimum lower end threshold of what it's going to charge to, and then it's going to leave the solar and wind and hydro generator inputs to then take it to full state of charges. Okay, so that hopefully clears up a little bit what's going on there. This will last until the repeated absorption interval is elapsed. From then on, the charger will behave normally. I think that's mostly to do. Now, you guys will be able to clarify this for me because I'm not an expert on this one and I haven't read enough of the manual, and I'm probably, just knowledgeable enough to be dangerous on this. I believe this is more related to lead-related batteries, lead acids and gels and all the rest of it, because the absorption interval is elapsed. Someone fill me in on that one. It didn't seem too dangerous when I was looking at someone else's YouTube video and reading through the literature, so it doesn't seem to be a problem. In the controls on the user interface for day-to-day use, Victron Connect, GX devices, RM portal and all the rest of it, there is an option to override this behavior for moments where a full charge from shore power is needed. Okay, now this was cool. So that's what this little button on the side here is. And this little button turns up also if you've got a Servo or a GX, or if you're in the Victron Connect app on your telephone, you can hit that button and basically it will fully charge your battery. It'll turn your inverter to full normal charge mode. Okay, it'll sort of undo this priority of solar and then prioritize the shore power, is my understanding of this. So yeah, so that's the prioritizing other energy sources tab, which is in our advanced tab. Okay, so let's go back to this AC input control again. So this is super cool, and I only discovered this by accident. Jason told me about the Prioritise charging side of things, which was cool, but this is new, and this was actually what I was chasing. So this is conditional AC input connection. So we turn this AC conditional input connection on here on this tab, right? Turn it off, turn everything off. Oop, went click. Hey, there you go. So you can see now here, I'm now drawing from the AC line here with 40 watts, and it is directly going through to my output and doing a little bit of charging as well of my battery. Okay, so this is exactly what I didn't want the system to do. Okay, I don't want the AC line to go directly through unless it meets a certain criteria to do so. So I'm going to enable it again. So I'll click it here. All right, the AC one line is now disconnected and my battery is now inverting. So I'm taking power from my battery and putting it through to my AC. Now, AC input connected based on a load. So of course we need to check this box. And when we do check this box, we need to tell it what the conditions are. When you first check this box, it's from memory, it was like 2,500 watts was the power requirement that it has to come up to before it will connect our shore power. And it's also for a duration of, it's going to have to be above 1,000 watts for 10 seconds before it will connect the land or the shore power line. And then it will disconnect the shore power when the load is below currently 637 watts, which was the standard default number, which seems to work for what I'm doing at the moment. Basically straight away, as soon as it hits that, it's going to go disconnect that. Okay. There is another one here. Because I don't have much connected with my state of charge with the marine shunt and my Victron side of things, I can't have my state of charge connected to this. This is an upgrade that is coming. But I do have a voltage connection. So basically, if the voltage of my battery pack goes below 24.5 volts, it's going to kick in as well. So this is in the case of my state of charge might be a bit low, and when I turn on a power tool, it might be going at 800 watts instead of the 1,000 watts, but the battery voltage will dip because it's being used. And when it dips below that voltage, it will basically have an AC line in. Or if my state of charge is below 50%, which brings my voltage down to 24.5, basically it's going to prioritize any AC power coming in through there rather than inverting and pulling power out of the battery. I've also got here, disconnect your AC input on battery voltage of 27 volts. So basically, if my battery is full to the brim at 27 volts, it's going to basically start depleting my battery before it pulls AC power in. Super cool. Heaps and heaps of really good parameters in here to say that in the case of us where we're doing work on the boat and I'm using power tools and vacuum cleaners, which do use a fair bit of power, but it's not all day, every day. And our conditions externally change, like today is a cold, windy, cloudy day. So my reliance on the shore power will be higher than the nicer days when I've got full-blown sun and it's nice and cool and my solar panels are providing heaps of input power. I can potentially run, I know I can, not potentially, I know I can run these tools without having to draw on the shore power. So this gives me a lot of flexibility to be able to say, hey, the conditions today are more suited to take power from my solar panels and a bit of my battery and then pump it through to the tools or the situation that I'm using today. Or if I work late, so if I happen to work late into the evening and the sun's gone down, or if the day is a bit cloudy and I'm not generating as much power, I've got the backup, and it's a backup resource of then pulling the power from the shore power. So that is a big win in regards to, one, it's not going to cost me as much money because I'm utilizing the resources that I already have and paid for. Two, it's cool that I don't have to use power from onshore where I don't know where the power's being made. In Spain, it's pretty good. It's not so heavily reliant on coal-powered stations, so that side of things is not so bad in Spain. But if I was in other countries, like our home countries of Australia and New Zealand, we'd be drawing on coal-fired powered stations if we're plugged into the thing. So for me, it's a bit of a double plus in that it reduces my bill and it helps reduce our carbon footprint a little bit. So I thought I'd just make that little video, and actually let's go and actually try it out. It's super cool. So we can actually, let's show you actually it working. So what I'll do is I've got a vacuum cleaner here. I'm going to change this. I've got 1,000 volt down to 800 watts because it was 900 watts to run the vacuum cleaner. And it'll be quite cool because you guys, can you see that well, Anna? Can you see this screen here? So I'm gonna go make noise. Yeah, everyone's gonna hate this bit. So now I've got a 10-second window. So we're counting down. And if we're watching the screen, you'll see it. There it goes, it just switched. Okay, so we just saw the current just drop because we had 10 seconds where the current was over my threshold of 800 watts that I just set. And now you can see we're now drawing 1,000 watts directly from the shore power. We're outputting just under 1,000 watts. And our battery is actually sitting neutral because the battery's charged. Basically all the power is going through the outlet. So now I'll go and turn the vacuum cleaner off. Nothing changed on the screen there. Yeah, see, it actually went from blue to slightly yellow. But if we look on the confuser, you can see now the AC inlet line, which is AC inlet line here, turned off. So there, you can see that actually happened in a practical term. So I'll show you the actual inverter itself. All right, hopefully there's enough light in here. Okay, there we go, cool. So you'll see that green light is inverter on. Okay, turn the vacuum on, Anna. Okay. Oh, my battery's flat on my torch. So we've got a 10-second window here for this to be drawing. And there you go, boom. So you can see it here on the actual machine. The mains is coming in and we're on float because the battery's full, so that's saying it's not actually charging the battery. So that is replicating exactly what we were seeing on the screen. Okay, Anna, you can turn the vacuum cleaner off. And then boom, she turned it off and we went back to inverter on. Super cool. So, quick summary. Super cool what you can do with this Victron gear. I'm sure there's other inverters and things out there that do the same thing and have different options, but it's super cool that I could find this functionality in here to be able to address exactly what I was hoping to be able to do in my dreams a few weeks ago, just to be able to prioritize it so well and does it so simply and intuitively, where a muppet like me can actually get in there and figure it out. Super cool. So got to give Victron a bit of a kudos there that they've done well in making that configurable like that. So, but if any of you guys have other methods of doing this or have done this and have a gotcha, yeah, it's really great, but watch out for, please let us know because yeah, I am exploring this and I'm not an expert in this particular corner of the boating world. So yeah, if you have any comments on how to do this better or differently, it would be great to sort of hear or see. So yeah, chuck some comments down below and let's see what other educating we can do.